Also, if you want to talk to me, our broadcast is live, but no one's in the room yet.
Okay.
Um, if you want to talk to me, you can use the Hangout chat, and that's just between me and you.
Okay. Here, I'll do a test. Okay. That's good to know.
All right, I'll start talking as soon as I see people start coming in the room.
Okay.
All right, welcome to the webinar tonight. We see we've got people streaming in now into the webinar room, and Chad Allen is here with us as well, and we'll show you our video screens in just a second. But why don't you go ahead and say hello, Chad?
Hey, everybody. Excited for tonight's call. I think this is going to be helpful to a lot of people.
Yeah, as people are coming in the room, we'd love to hear from you in the chat. Just your first name and where you're viewing us from. Maybe tell us the state, your first name and the state that you're viewing from, and also if you're from another country, put that in there too. We always want to know where people are watching and viewing this webinar from. So we'll get started in just a few minutes. I see more and more people coming into the room now. So we're going to have an awesome time, power-packed, plenty of content on launching a mastermind group, and what Chad and I have gotten out of being in our own mastermind group. We want to help you either join one or launch one yourself. So take a minute, tell us in the chat your first name and where you're from. All right, we got some names coming in here. We got Holly from Massachusetts and Darla from Indiana. Darla, I am a Hoosier, but I've moved south. So I actually live in Florida, married a Floridian, but I was born and raised in Indiana. Still consider myself to be a Hoosier. We got Carol from Rhode Island. Got Rachel watching from Puerto Rico, and the list just keeps coming in. So we got a lot more that have just joined us. If you guys are just coming in here, we'd love to know your first name and where you're from. Also, Chad's with us here as well. So,
Hey, everybody.
yeah. And Chad is from Michigan, but right now, I think you told me you're in Atlanta. Is that right, Chad?
Sorry, say that one more time.
I said you're in Atlanta right now, right?
That's right. I'm here for a conference tucked away in a Hilton Garden Inn up in the Gwinnett Center area. So it's fun to be able to do this with technology.
Yeah, so we got more names coming in. We got Becky from Rochester. And we got Irina and Susie. And we got Rachel and Paula and Jean. And the names just keep coming in. So thank you guys for being here. We know you could be doing a lot of things right now, but you chose to invest some time in yourself. And for that, Chad and I are here. And we want to make sure that we are here to answer your questions. So let's jump on before we get started. Let's take a second here, Chad, and let's pull up our screen so we can let people know that we are in fact live. So there's Chad. Say hey, Chad.
Hey, everybody.
I love what you've done with the drapes.
Thank you. Yeah, you like that?
You're in a standard
That
hotel.
nondescript behind me. Yeah. Entered a shoe.
And here I am. This is where I spend most of my time. I'm in my home office and spend a lot of my time working from right here. And I love using a whiteboard. I guess you can see the whiteboard back there. My mastermind group jokes with me because every once in a while they're like, "Hey, you got some new stuff on your whiteboard back there."
It's true. We always ask what's going back there. Yeah.
Yeah, what's going on your whiteboard now? I got another whiteboard above here, above my camera. Got another one over here to the left. I love whiteboards. So, well, listen, everybody, as we got more people coming into the room, tonight's all about mastermind groups, and I'm going to help you either maybe come tonight and you say, I don't even know, I've heard of the term mastermind groups, but how does it work? What is it like? How do I start one if I wanted to start one? Or how do I join one if I want to join one? And so we can certainly walk you through those steps. And I'll be telling you a little bit about my story and also how Chad and I connected. We connected through the mastermind group process. So, yeah. So, Chad, you got any kind of opening thoughts or comments maybe you want to make tonight?
Yeah, I'd love to. First, obviously we have the webinar chat room, so feel free to ask questions there. But I'm also setting up a hashtag. Well, it's not really that you set one up, but I'm going to designate a hashtag. So it's for those who want to ask questions or make comments via Twitter. The hashtag will just be hashtag Mastermind, Mastermind. So feel free to interact with us either of those ways. And in terms of opening comments, I'll just say that I'll just maybe tell the story, Jonathan, of how our mastermind came to be, and kind of what it's meant to me and my journey. And maybe just a quick introduction to me as well. Some of you may know that I'm a blogger. I'm also I've been in traditional publishing for over 15 years. I'm currently editorial director for a large faith-based publisher called Baker, and so both in my job at Baker and as a blogger, my passion is to help creative people do their best work. So that's what my blog's about. That's what I try to do in my editorial work. And so like many of us, I picked up Michael Hyatt's book Platform, and I was very interested in learning how to build my own platform and reach more people with a message that I believed was important. And so I picked that up, and then pretty soon Hyatt launched his membership site, Platform University, and I really enjoyed being a part of that. And there's a forum area in that site where you can interact with other people and ask questions and introduce yourself and so forth. And I remember there was a forum topic on masterminds. And so there's quite a bit of activity around that particular topic. And Jonathan posted, he said, look, if anybody wants to join a mastermind, I've just started one, or I started one a few months ago, and I'd love to hear from you. So I said, well, that sounds great. So I wrote to Jonathan, and then pretty soon we ended up on the phone with each other. We talked about what the purpose of the mastermind was, and who the different people were in the group, and what I was hoping to get out of it, and I started showing up to our mastermind group. And I'll just say that the mastermind group that Jonathan started has given me access to people and I guess I could use the word intelligence, resources that I don't think I would have access to otherwise. So I wrote about this in a blog post recently, and I talked about three things that I've gained from being a part of this mastermind. The first is probably accountability. We end our mastermind sessions by asking this question: what do you want to have completed by this time next week? So that's great. It helps us be accountable to each other and also to ourselves. I would also point to the whole area of sort of support and encouragement and guidance. That may be three in one there, but the idea is that we bring our stories to the group, we bring our struggles, and I'm sure Jonathan will go into the process of this a little more in a bit. But the idea is that you get help. If you have an honest struggle, you get help from people who very likely, one way or another, can offer you ways forward. And then finally, the thing I've received from this is it's not just an opportunity for me to gain wisdom and guidance from other people in the mastermind group. It's an opportunity for me to serve them, and that too has been huge for me. It's just been a lot of fun to get to pour into these folks' lives and give them my best thoughts about what they could do next. So it's been a great experience. I'm so grateful for it, and that's why I'm excited about this webinar, because I feel like if people do what Jonathan talks about in this webinar, it could be the beginning of really good things for everyone on the call. So I'm excited to turn Jonathan loose and just learn and just look forward to participating as we go.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, Chad, and your influence in me. And I mean, you've taught me a lot, and I've benefited tremendously with having you in my mastermind group. And so I'm excited about you being here and adding to our conversation. And so tonight, I'm actually going to share kind of 4 big points, 4 big steps that you would need to take to launch a successful mastermind group. Or if you just want to learn how to join one and what the steps are there, we'll cover that as well. So before I jump in and start giving you some of this content, I want to do a quick poll, and you should see pretty quickly here a poll. It's a simple poll that is showing up on the right-hand side of your screen, and basically ask a question: have you been in a mastermind group before? Yes or no? I'm curious with those that are with us tonight if you've been a part of a mastermind group. So go ahead, I'm going to leave that open for just a little bit. And while I leave that open, let me just real quickly, just so that you have some context, I want to tell you a bit about me and where I come from. So I actually started as a high school teacher and did that for a few years. Both my parents were educators, and I thought that would be what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I have a passion for teaching. I love learning, but I found that the context wasn't the right context for me. I'm much more of a free spirit. I have an entrepreneurial side to me, and so long story short, I jumped into an executive search firm, started to really jump into this startup firm, and did that for about 7 years, still wanting to fully kind of launch off into something my own. And I did what Chad's doing. I started blogging in 2009. And so my first blog was a career coach blog, jonathanmilligan.com. And after about 2 years, took me somewhere around 2 years, I don't know exactly the dates, but I was able to create about 12 different income buckets from different things that I was doing, both active and passive types of income, and started in 2011 bloggingyourpassion.com. And bloggingyourpassion.com was a second blog where I really wanted to help people who had a message learn the steps. We call it the brick-by-brick philosophy of every single day building towards getting your message out there to more people. And so I have a university over there. I started in 2011. That's called Blogging Your Passion University, and you can find out some more about me there. Of course, I got a couple podcasts, and then there's some places where I've had the opportunity to be featured on Lifehacker, MichaelHyatt.com, Entrepreneurs on Fire, and some other places. So let's see what our results are on our poll. I'm going to end it. And about 22% of the room tonight, Chad, have been in a mastermind group before, and we have 78% that have not.
Okay. Well, good.
So I'm excited for the 78% because you're going to really learn how a mastermind group can benefit you. And for the 22%, hopefully you, well, I know because I've done this particular webinar twice last week, and I had people tell me, man, I've just gotten a bunch of nuggets that I can go and take and implement into my existing mastermind group. So let me just kind of share with you why I decided to start a mastermind group. I was becoming and feeling, late 2012, I was beginning to feel two things. First of all, I'd accomplished originally what I wanted to accomplish, and that was the ability to work from home, earn income through the creative process, which for me is writing on my blog. I've published a Kindle book. I've created courses online, on and on and on. But I began to feel like I had become a little disconnected from my audience, which sounds funny, but that can happen if you're not careful. And I felt isolated. I've been used to working in groups and teams, and now suddenly I was working from home. And I tell people this all the time as an example. I attend a church that on the weekends has about 3 or 4 weekend services. There's over a couple thousand people that attend this church. I don't know of one person, and I've yet to meet one person, who is trying to do what I'm trying to do, and that is to build an online platform through blogging, writing and speaking, and I don't know of anybody else trying to do that. I've just not ran into them. And so I didn't have, I was kind of wearing out my wife, to be honest. I don't know, Chad, if you've had that experience, but I was kind of, she was polite enough to hear me talk about all the stuff I'm doing, and she's like, I don't know half of what you're talking about and what you're doing, but if you're earning income from it, I'm all for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that it's only about the income, but if I'm spending some time, she wants to obviously see that I've got some results. I've went hunting and I've come back with something. So anyways, I started to think, what got me to where I wasn't going to get me to the next level. And I don't know if you've ever felt that before, Chad, but
absolutely.
I felt that I had reached a plateau, and if something didn't change, I feared going downhill. I felt going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that was my decision to choose a word that was going to be my theme for 2013, and that word was connection. I wanted to be better connected with, I wanted to sit at the feet of other peers and learn from them, and maybe even unlearn some things to be able to open my eyes to new opportunities, to stretch my horizons, to lift the lid on my own potential that maybe I had capped, my vision for things. Just there's so many things that I get challenged by in a mastermind group. And so I decided I was going to start a mastermind group. Now here's the funny thing. I'd never been in one. So if you're here tonight and say, I can't start a mastermind group because I've never been in one, if you're the 78% of you that are watching right now, that was me 18 months ago. I mean, in early 2013, I had never been in one, and I decided to start one. And I'm going to walk through that process a little bit. And as I walk through this, I'm going to pause a few times, and we'll let Chad also interject. And as we're doing this, don't forget that you can use the hashtag Mastermind over on Twitter. Chad is answering questions and watching over there. I am monitoring the chat inside of the webinar room, and we'd be happy to answer your questions there as well. So ask away, because we will get to them. So here was the quote for me that really spurred me to come out of my isolation and put myself into community. And the quote was this. It's from C.S. Lewis. And here, before I say that, here's what's interesting, because I know many of you that follow Chad, you're aspiring writers or you're authors, and you've got book ideas, you've got things that you want to do. I don't know if you know this, but C.S. Lewis, who was the writer and creator of the Chronicles of Narnia, was in a mastermind group, like a writers group. It was full of writers, and they actually had a name called the Inklings. And what's interesting, if you don't know this, some of you might since you're writers, there was another person inside that mastermind group that you probably know. It was J.R.R. Tolkien. He's the writer and creator of Lord of the Rings. So if you've ever felt like there's some similarities with Lord of the Rings and the Chronicles of Narnia, those guys were hanging out together and challenging each other in their writing, which I don't know if you want to take a moment right here this second, just a brief moment, Chad, to talk about the power of mastermind groups with writers and the encouragement that it could provide.
Yeah, I just feel like, I wrote a blog post this morning on this, that one of the best things to do when you get stuck, and we all get stuck as writers, and 9 times out of 10 when I talk to a writer who talks about that, expresses that feeling of being stuck, I ask them, are you in a community of supportive people? Do you have a group of people around you who can help you with that? And a lot of times they'll say, no, I've been meaning to, but I just haven't been able to do it yet. And if they are part of a group, they kind of light turns on. I go, oh yeah, I should talk to them about this issue I'm having. I just think I think one of the ways that you can make the writing journey sustainable, and making it sustainable is worthwhile because that's the only way you're going to get really, really good. One of the key ways to do that is by being part of a community of people who are supporting you and whom you are supporting along the way. So there are a lot of different ways to do that through critique groups. You've heard about those, or writers' circles, but a mastermind group is also a great way to do it, especially if you're interested not only in improving your craft, but in building your platform so that you can promote your work later on, or at least that's been my experience. Our mastermind group has been a great place for me to explore building my platform. What's the next step in that process? So that's how I would respond to that.
Awesome. Well, appreciate your insights with that. So this is the quote: "The next best thing to being wise oneself is to live in a circle of those who are." And you see, I believe, and I don't know because I don't really even know the context, to be honest with you, where this came from, but I'd be surprised if that didn't come out of his experience of being a part of the writers group, the Mastermind. He saw a need to live in a circle of wisdom. And so what happens for Chad and I every single Thursday at 4 o'clock, we have 8 to 10 people. I lose count on the exact number because we recently decided to add additional 2 people to our group, is that we put ourselves every single week, it's a priority, but not only a priority, it's a benefit of putting ourselves into that circle of wisdom where people can help us get unstuck, overcome obstacles, to go further faster. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to treat the next few slides as if you decided I want a mastermind group. I want to start a mastermind group in the next 30 days. So here are the steps. I would say the first week, here's what you need to do. Week 1 is the word learn. There are a few things you're going to need to learn in order to really launch out and form a great mastermind group. Here's some questions that you could write down, and then I'm going to give you kind of my main point for this. Some questions that you could consider is, what is the purpose of my group? Do you have a purpose? And actually, while I'm on that point, I want to mention this before I get too far, Chad. But For every single person that's in here tonight, we have a free giveaway. I call it a free giveaway, but actually what it is everybody's getting it. So you're all winners tonight. There's no drawing for it. We're going to actually give you our mastermind group guidelines. It's a one-page PDF, and it covers things that we've put together as a group that guides our group. Things like, what is the purpose of our group? What's the role as a mastermind member? How does the weekly meetings work? The hot seat assignment, the attendance expectations. What are the dismissal guidelines if we've got somebody who has violated certain things and they need to be dismissed? And so I'm going to give everybody access to our personal mastermind group guidelines at the very end. So I want to make sure that that you stick around, and we'll give you that link as we get at the end. So back to week one, the things that you need to learn. What is the purpose of your group? How many people are going to be in your group? Whether your group's going to be virtual or local, right? And maybe for some of you, local makes sense. And you know, I wish that all my members were local. It would make it so much better to be in person. But we live, you know, I mean, Chad, if I took a moment and said where everybody lives in our mastermind group, it's almost kind of funny.
Yeah.
You're in Michigan,
Yeah, right.
I'm in Florida, we have somebody in South Carolina, we have somebody in Colorado, we have somebody in Texas, we have somebody in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
we have California covered.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where else. Oh, Alabama. So I don't think there's any one of us that lives in the same state.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all over the place.
But that's what's awesome about this virtual opportunity we have with Google Hangouts, and I'll be talking a little bit about Google Plus private community groups, and also the Slack app, if you've never heard of that. It's a funny name, but it's an awesome app that we use to communicate as a group. And the virtual groups allowed us to be able to add people with certain expertise to benefit the group as a whole that we wouldn't be able to have in a local environment. I did a webinar last week, and somebody told me that they're in a very rural area, and so their only hope to surround themselves around other passionate people on the topic they're passionate about is virtual because of where they live. But the good news is that's possible today. So I want to hit this main point, and then Chad and I will dialogue for a second, and we'll move in, okay, to the next, kind of move along in here. So I want to talk about the one single factor that determines success. I've had people ask me because they've heard about our mastermind group. I've had lots of people ask me, you know, can you help me? I've been a part of a bunch of groups and it's just fizzled out or it just hasn't worked. And what is it that makes a group successful? Now, I've only been a part of one, and I know Chad would agree with me when I say this. The one single factor that makes our group a success is actually generosity. Everybody in the group steps in and for the benefit of everyone else first, waiting for and believing that their benefit themselves is going to come. And that seems so backward because I know I've heard of people and they've told me this. They've joined a mastermind group where you had individuals who you could tell really quickly were about how they were going to benefit. You know, what's in this for me? But if you can create a currency of generosity in a group, it becomes incredibly powerful. And I've seen that happen over and over again in our group, where we've been willing to share our audience, our email list. We've been willing to share, you know, our Twitter followers, Facebook fans, to talk about what each other's in the group are doing. It just goes on and on. And so I just want to reinforce before we move on that you as a leader of a group from the very beginning need to start with generosity and make that the currency of the group. So any comments, insights on that, Chad, that thought?
Well, just a story that really that comes to mind right away as you talk about that. You know, one of the reasons I started my little side business, Book Proposal Academy, was because of one of our fellow masterminds, Dale. And I was trying to promote Book Proposal Academy for the first time, and I was really working hard, and I just remember how encouraging everybody was, and just supported me along the way. And then toward the end of my launch, three or four of you, three or four people in our mastermind group said, "You know what, Chad? Here, take one of my courses and use it as a bonus during this launch. You just have it, and you can give it to people as a bonus if they purchase your course." And it was like, I mean, when you added it up, it was over $200 of value. Well, I was only charging $147 for my own course. So I mean, that was when I was just blown away by the generosity of everybody in the group. They were willing to just give me their course, and it was remarkable.
Awesome. Great example. And if you want us, again, to ask questions, or if you've joined us, I see some other people have joined us here recently. If you guys have questions, ask them away. If something we say, you need more clarification, or you need some more examples, or need more help, just let us know. So the first week is spending some time learning about what it is that you want to accomplish. What is the purpose of your group? Where are you headed? What areas do you need to grow in? So that when you go to actually asking people to join, you begin to be smarter about the people that you are joining into your group, which is what we're going to talk about next. Number 2 is the word listen. How can we make sure that we bring the right people on board in our mastermind group? I mean, is it as simple as, a Facebook message out there in our personal Facebook message and saying, hey, I'd like to have, who wants to be part of a mastermind group? I believe that you need to be a little bit more strategic than that. Because if you are joining people that have different purposes, it can begin to get frustrating over time, and people will begin to feel fragmented. So if you have one person who wants to be a realtor in the group, you have another person who wants to sell franchises, you have another person who's trying to do something totally different, it can begin to be a little frustrating for the group. You need to have some cohesiveness. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody has to be doing the exact same thing. Everybody in our group is not in the same niche. However, we all have a central purpose, and that is we're all working to grow our online platforms, our industry expert arena that we're trying to grow. And so I'm going to just walk you through for a minute, because some of you might be thinking, I want you to be, some of you might be thinking, well, what are the steps that you took to get your mastermind group? So I'm going to just walk you through those specific steps. And so here are the steps. I call it the mastermind group interviewing process. Now, before I go into this, here's what was interesting. One of the people in Chad and I's mastermind group, he's a university professor. He teaches entrepreneurial endeavors at the graduate level. And one of the things he told me about a couple months after he was into the mastermind group process, he said, Jonathan, he goes, I teach how to form mastermind groups, and I even make my graduate students be in mastermind groups. He says, but your process is completely different. He said, your process felt like I was interviewing for a job. And I don't want to say that you have to interrogate people, and I don't want you to feel like that you've got to put that kind of pressure. But it was interesting because I hadn't thought about it until then, and Chad, maybe you can talk about your own experience with coming in a little bit. I'll give you some time to think about it. I kind of went through a step-by-step process. It wasn't like if you raise your hand, you're in the group. And I wasn't trying to be excluding. I was just trying to think, each member, how are they going to benefit the group as a whole? And I think that's part of the process. Now, we have awesome members, but part of it was the onboarding process that I want to share with you. So here's what I did. Here's question number one. You may need to write this down. I don't have a slide for it. But where are your ideal members already hanging out? Are they in a local networking group? Is it is it on a forum online that you go to for resources about your niche? Is it in a Facebook group that you're a part of, a private Facebook group? Is it behind a paid forum? Now, for me, I looked at a bunch of different places where I was a member of, and I said, which group has people in it who hold to the same values that I hold to, that want to accomplish sort of the same thing I want to accomplish. And I end up choosing Platform University. And Chad talked about it a little bit earlier, Michael Hyatt's book Platform. I thought, here's a group of people who are trying to grow their online platforms through blogging, speaking, writing, workshops, and that's the direction I want to go. I want to learn from people like that. And so I went into the forums, and what I did is, and this is step 2, is I posted a questionnaire. And I said in the questionnaire, hey guys, I'm looking to form a mastermind group. If you'd like to join, here's kind of my idea for it. If you'd like to join, click on this link, fill out some information. And without going into too great detail, some of the information was, where's your blog online or your website? What are you looking to get out of a mastermind group? Where are you looking to go over the next couple of years? What is it that you want to accomplish, or what are your goals? And so from there, I got about probably a good 30, 35 responses. And so from there, I moved to step 3, and that is I looked through all the answers. I determined kind of a short list of people that I was most excited about, not just for me personally, but for an amazing group. And I kind of narrowed that down, I think, to about 10 names, 10 or 12 names. And then I contacted them individually and said, hey, I'd love to grab a quick phone call with you for 30 minutes just to kind of chat, get to know each other, and or a Skype call or a Hangout. And so that's what I did. I talked with each person individually. And in that, it was not an interrogation. It wasn't like a phone interview that you're thinking of as a job. It was a kind of get to know each other phone call. And in that get to know each other phone call, I really could kind of feel the spirit of the person, their goals, their personality, to help me understand a little bit about if they'd make a good member for the group. And from there, I decided to invite those who kind of made it through that process of, hey, here's when we're starting. I'd love to have you come. And so that is the process that I walked through. And I was listening for, is this person going to be a generous person? I mean, sometimes it's hard to get out of an initial phone call, but you just listen to their style and how, I'd love to come in and I want to help the group, or, I want to learn from people, or, just kind of get a sense of that. So, Chad, any thoughts you have about kind of the onboarding process? Maybe, I don't know if you can remember. I mean, it's been a year now. Can you remember any of that?
Yeah, I do. I remember having a nice conversation with you. The one way I might expand on that is, it's really a two-way interview because you were asking me questions, but at the same time, I was listening to you describe the different people, and if I had felt like my interests diverged sharply from those of the other people in the group, I probably would have, excluded myself. I probably would have said, Jonathan, I'm not sure it's a great fit. But as it was, I was hearing about these people, and I was like, oh yeah, I definitely think that I could, work well in a group of these kinds of folks. So, so it really is kind of a two-way deal. I didn't feel interrogated or interviewed. I was just excited about the opportunity, the possibility. I saw the on-ramping process as really as an exploratory process, and fortunately, it worked out, and it's been off to the races ever since.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point, and that's why I want to emphasize that it's not an interview because it's a two-way street. As I am finding out about what you're looking for in a mastermind group, I was sharing with you the people in our mastermind group, the things that we talk about, the things that we do in a group setting. And so there's kind of selling, a little bit of selling going on both ends. No hard selling, but we are
Right.
trying to see if it's right for everybody involved. Um,
Right.
so yeah. So if you have some specific questions about that, we're going to be taking questions in just a couple minutes. If you want some more details on that, ask away in the chat box or over on the hashtag Mastermind. Is that the right hashtag?
That's right.
Over on Twitter.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, we have two more points, and then again, we're going to give out that one-page PDF, which is our group guidelines that governs our group that I think will be an awesome benefit for everybody. So once you've learned a few things about what is the purpose of your group so that you have some focus on who to invite and you know how many people you want in your group, whether it's virtual or local, now you moved into the second one, which is to listen. We're listening for people who seem to be generous. We're listening for people who are holding to some of the same values, that are heading in similar directions. And now week 3 is about launch. Now there's a lot that I can say about your meeting structure. I mean, for us, we share highs and lows at the beginning of all of our meetings. Tell us a high point from this last week, a low point. We do hot seat assignments where one member of the group is in focus, and that's the beauty of a mastermind because everybody else comes to the aid of that person. I love those hot seats. They're called hot seats. It's not really so much you get interrogated, but everyone's coming to your aid, and it's an amazing thing. I mean, think about right now the biggest challenge that you're bumping up against. Either it's you need accountability, you're in need of some feedback, or you're just in need of some insight and help. Now think about if you could surround yourself with 5 or 6 other people who have different experiences and they are able to weigh in on that one thing that you're thinking about right now, and you can come away with some clarity. I see that happen over and over again. People in our mastermind group, they come in with fog and they leave with clarity. The fog is lifted and suddenly they're re-inspired about that thing that they felt a little bit stuck on. So I can talk about a lot of things, and if you have questions about some more specifics of things we've done inside of the group, I can do that. But I wanted to just tackle specifically real quick how to conduct your first meeting, because I think this is so important. People are coming into the group, and you want them to get a sense of, first of all, the vision and the purpose of meeting. You really got to sell them on, guys, this is what I think this group can do. Here's the vision. Here's the purpose of us getting together. And then you also want to help provide some context. Now, Chad wasn't in it at the very, very beginning. He got in a couple months later. But at the very, very beginning, here's the funny thing, because people are always astonished when I tell them this. When I started my mastermind group, I didn't know anybody. Every single member was a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's amazing, Chad, how many people, or how the group has bonded when we all were strangers at the very beginning. None of us, I mean, since then I've added one person that's kind of a personal friend of mine, but at the very beginning, I didn't know anybody. I started completely with strangers. So right now, if you're thinking, do I start with people I know, or do I just go off and be willing to make new friends? I launched into that first meeting jumping on a hangout, not knowing these guys other than a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would recommend that you do is everyone needs to have a little bit of context. And so what we did our first meeting or two is we divided up the time amongst the members, and we had everybody quickly kind of walk through their story. Give me the past, present, and future. And as the leader, I went and started first. and I said, here's kind of where I am now. This is what I'm doing now, and these are the things that I'm trying to get done in the next couple years. And then as everybody does that, now you have a better context, a better understanding, and even more than that, everybody feels heard. Everybody feels like I've been able to share my story, and other people appreciate and know where I'm coming from now. So that when you do these later sessions, they have context to move forward. So, and I know for you, Chad, when you came in, we kind of opened it up and said, hey, tell us a little bit about your story and where you're coming from.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that, and just how everybody was, eager to hear who I was and what I was trying to accomplish, and I felt very welcomed. And it is amazing how a group of strangers has bonded just over the course of 1 hour each week. I think part of it is because you know, we're not just chit chatting. We're talking about something that we all care deeply about. Many of us are doing this on the side. So, as my wife told me the other day, she said, "You don't wake up at 5 in the morning for something you don't care about." So, and it's gone to the level too where we even joke with each other and give each other a hard time. It doesn't happen unless there's a level of trust there. So that can happen relatively quickly, or at least it has in our experience.
Yeah. So again, if you have some more questions on meetings and about launching your mastermind meeting, please ask us in the chat. And I see we've gotten some more people in the room, so welcome everyone who's come into the room. And if you guys are just joining us, you will get the replay. But we are going to give, for everyone who's here live tonight, we've got a special giveaway that we're going to give out to everyone, which is our PDF of our mastermind group guidelines, which is a great document. So let's talk about number 4, and that is lead. So just launching your mastermind group is not going to cut it. You're going to fizzle out if you, especially those of you who are starting it, you have to lead it. For me, this was kind of surprising. I don't know why this was kind of a surprise to me, Chad, but I just kind of, I don't know, I was just thinking I'm the guy that's starting this thing. I'm kind of, putting this thing together. And then I was thinking when we get in the meetings, it was going to kind of be, everyone's there to kind of participate, and we're all at the same level. And what I quickly realized is everyone was looking for me to lead it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like Survivor, the TV show. If you speak up first, you're the leader.
Right. Yeah.
And
well,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the group needs a leader. There are points at which we need someone to moderate or to take us in a different direction. We need someone to hold us accountable to showing up. You need someone to own the details, and it doesn't happen on its own. So I think that this is a crucial part of it.
Yeah, and two, it's kind of like you need somebody to kind of speak up sometimes and say, maybe we need to keep this thing fresh and alive. So I'm thinking about doing this for one of the meetings to kind of mix it up a little bit so that we don't get kind of stuck in a rut. Or, I remember I gave out a survey at the end of this last year, which is great. I did an anonymous survey of the group and got every group member's thoughts. Give me your raw, honest thoughts. What do you like best about the group? What do you like least about the group? What do you think needs to happen to take the group to the next level? And we took, I said, what do you think is grounds for dismissal? How often should, in a 90-day period, how often should someone attend in order to stay in the group? And I got all that feedback from you guys, and then we put together that mastermind group guidelines PDF that we're going to give away here in just a little bit. But I want to specifically talk about 4 ways to lead your group well. And I don't want to sit here and take credit for all of these. Some of these have happened organically from members of the group, but this is 4 ways that we try to lead our group, and each of us take turns leading it. I don't want to pretend that I'm the only one that's doing these things, because everyone's involved. And again, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier about creating a culture or a currency of generosity in the group. But let me just give you these 4 ways. I don't have slides for them. Maybe you can just jot down these words. First one is the word accountability. You as the leader need to lead with accountability. In fact, I would go as far as to say that the most important thing for you, if you're feeling stuck right now, one of the most important things you can do is make yourself vulnerable enough to ask for accountability. And for some people, that's so difficult because we have to take off the Superman cape. We got to take off the armor, and we have to let everybody else know I'm struggling or I'm having a hard time. And Chad will remember about a story I'm about to share. This was I think sometime earlier this summer. I went on vacation for a couple weeks, came back. I was rested, refreshed. I had totally unplugged. And for 3 days, once I was back home, coming back home, I'm like, I'm ready to get back to work. I'm energized. And for like 2 or 3 days, I was stuck in a rut. I wasn't getting anything done. I was paying attention to Facebook too much. I was over on Twitter. I mean, I was in a downward spiral. And Chad may remember this. I went into our group, and at that time we were using Google Plus private community group, and I said, guys, I'll be honest with you, I'm struggling. So I'm going to post for you what it is that I'm going to get done today, and at the end of the day, I'm going to come back and tell you what I got done from my list. And if you don't hear from me, you have permission to inquire, to investigate, to push into that. And a funny thing happened. First of all, it helped me tremendously to be able to say, these are the 4 things I'm going to get done today, and at the end of the day, I'm going to report back to you how I did. And what's funny is it kind of caught on in the group, and other people started doing it. And it was fun because we all went to a new level of accountability. Now, we don't all do that all the time, but when some of us begin to feel stuck, we go back to that simple method. So, any thoughts on that, Chad?
No, I think that's a great one. You know, we in fact we end each of our calls or each of our hangouts with with accountability. We check in with each other. We say, this is what I want to get done by this time next week, and we actually record that in an Excel spreadsheet so that we're keeping track of it. And then we report on it the next week. Here's what I said I would get done, and here's what I got done. So it's not like any member is gonna scream at you if you don't get your thing done. But still, just there's something about making a commitment in front of other people that helps you actually get it done.
Yeah, we have a running joke with one of the guys in our group that if you don't get what you said you're going to get done, you have to pay him $10. And he's got a pretty high tab right now, and I think one of these days he's hoping that we're going to cash in.
Keep hoping.
Yeah. Well, all I got's Monopoly money for him, so. But yeah, that's the first way you can lead well. Another one is to lead with generosity. And you've heard us talk about this, but it's so important that you as the leader, in order to kind of get it going in your group, start being generous first. Start promoting. Now this example that I'm going to give is because we're bloggers online, but start promoting other people's stuff. Tweet about their posts. Mention them on Facebook. Maybe you send an email out about something they're doing to your list. But that you can take that generosity and apply it in a lot of different ways. But that is just another area that you can be generous. I'd say also the third way is lead with feedback. And by that I mean be willing and ready to provide feedback for people when they're really seeking it out. Don't just ignore it or say, I'm not going to participate in it. What I love about our group is we can post a logo, say, hey, here's a new logo for a new product I'm doing, or here's a new book cover for a book I'm going to write, or we've even had somebody in the group that's writing a book say, here's my table of contents. Here's my title, here's my subtitle, here's my table of contents. Can you guys critique this? What makes sense? What doesn't make sense? I mean, that kind of feedback is valuable. And as the leader, you got to be asking people to submit things so that you can start providing that feedback, and then it becomes something where you begin getting feedback as well. And then the last area I would say is lead with promotions. So condition your members to see the importance of promoting everything else about the group. Like Chad talked about earlier, people jumped in and they gave products that they had created and allowed him to give them away as free bonuses. I know the Book Proposal Academy that he's just kind of walked through. It's been phenomenal. And those of you who maybe saw that and you're thinking about it on the next round, I know Chad's thinking about doing that again. It's something you should consider. I enjoyed being a part of that. I also contributed a bonus to that, and I also promoted that. I promoted that with all of my channels to try to let people know about what he was up to and what he was doing. So those are the few ways that you can, in fact, lead your group well. Now, before we take questions and before we begin to dive into actually giving you the PDF for the group guidelines, I do want to mention that a few months ago, my group spurred me to begin documenting everything that we were doing as a mastermind group and put that into an online digestible way, because they said, you know, I was talking about that professor earlier. He's a PhD. He came to me and he said, I'm going to start using what you're doing with mastermind groups in my graduate course level. And I was blown away by that. I was like, wow. And he told me, he says, you need to document this so that other people can use this system to form and start their own mastermind groups. And so what I did is I took, and for the last couple months, I've been working on this and putting it in the members area. I've actually created over 35 step-by-step videos. I also gave every group member that's in my mastermind group access to it. And I said, tell me what's missing. What are the pieces that you see in here that are not being mentioned? We put everything in there. So anything that has helped our group, and we've seen amazing things happen with our group, with people launching products and speaking careers. And I know I've seen my revenue double, and I attribute that to my mastermind group providing me the feedback and the insight that I'm always looking for. And so we put all of it in there, and we actually use this format of learn, the things that you need to learn. There's a whole module about learn. There's a whole module about listen. I actually have recorded videos showing you my actual forum post. I mean, you can copy and paste that into your own forum or your own private Facebook group. I give you the survey that I did to form my mastermind group. I actually have I documented on a PDF the get to know each other phone call, the steps that I took to kind of help you know what do you talk about on the phone call, to conducting your first meeting. I have PDFs and videos that walk you through how to structure your meeting, how long it should be, what you should do in your meetings, and then after the launch phase, we even talk about the leading. We go into more detail. And then one more thing that I want to mention on it is I also included some bonuses because I think these are pretty valuable for people. And there's a keynote that I did on mastermind groups that you can watch as a bonus. There's also, we went into, I actually recorded how to use Google Hangouts and the private Google Plus community group. That's how we started. We started in a Google Plus private group for over a year. And then earlier this year, we moved to the Slack app. It's a free app that you can get on your iPhone, iPad, Android. PC, Mac, and our collaboration has like skyrocketed. You know, regardless if your group is local or virtual, you need to have a way to communicate online. Email's not going to do it. You've got to have a way that you can communicate online throughout the week. And I really think that that's some of the secret sauce in our group, besides being generous, is the fact that we're in constant communication with each other. And we're the moment we have, you know, an insight, the moment we do something that worked. I did something this last week that that enabled me to get a bunch of subscribers, and I went into my group and said, guys, this is what I did. All of you need to try this in a new future blog post. Mm-hmm. And other people in the group do that as well, and that's the beauty of having an online collaboration tool. So I have a bonus training video on Google Hangouts and the Google Plus private community group. I have a bonus training that walks you through how we use the Slack app for our group as well. So, one more thing before we give you the link is I talked with Chad and I said, okay, we've launched this course and I've had some great feedback. It's been open now for 2 weeks and I've been getting some great feedback from people saying thank you for putting this resource together. And so what I am going to do for the group is, and for Chad's group, this is just for you guys, if you go over to the actual page where you can sign up and join, you won't find this discount, but we're going to give $30 off the price of the course for the first 10 members. So it's only for the first 10 people on this call, and there's way more than that on this call. You need to go and grab it. $30 off. You can go to jonathanmilligan.com/Chad, and then there is a specific coupon code that you're going to need to put in, and I'm going to put it in the chat. And when you click on it and you put this coupon code in, it's going to knock the price off from $97 to $67, and you're going to get lifetime access to the course. I'm in there in the course, answering questions. Every single video has a comment box below it. I'm there to guide you every step of the way, but you just need to use the coupon code Chad Allen, all one word. I just put it inside of the chat, so it should be there. That's the coupon code, and it's good for the first 10 people that jump in and take advantage of that tonight. So let's take some questions. I don't know if you've got any questions rolling in on Twitter, or if this group is using Twitter all that much, or I don't know if you have any comments, insights, questions, or thoughts, Chad. I have a few questions over here.
Yeah, I'll just chime in too and point out that it's interesting to me that our mastermind group really came out of it was kind of the fruit of the book Platform and Platform University. And I just find it interesting that of all the people Michael Hyatt could have asked to speak to this issue, both in a blog post and in his own member site, he picked Jonathan. So I just PhD down in Texas who teaches on entrepreneurism, using Jonathan's material for his graduate level courses. You have somebody like Michael Hyatt who, for those of you who don't know, who just has a massive amount of followers. He could probably pick just about anybody who wanted to speak to this, and he picked Jonathan Milligan. So I really do. One of the reasons I'm comfortable, getting on this webinar and promoting this with Jonathan is I really believe in Jonathan's ability to help people start productive mastermind groups. So I just wanted to mention that Hyatt is he's a credible source when it comes to this kind of thing, and he went to Jonathan and said, "Hey, will you talk to my tribe about mastermind groups?" So I just think that's important.
Awesome, thanks for that. And yeah, one we're here to help you every step of the way. So, and this also has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you get in there, I mean, the risk is on us, and it's not what you wanted, then you can ask for your money back. I mean, it's pretty simple and straightforward, and I'm pretty passionate about this, and I know you probably are too, Chad, because I have felt the benefits. I have seen the benefits. I've been on the receiving end of being a part of a mastermind group, and it's like there's nothing more that I want for you that are on here. You know, like I said earlier, what got me to where I wasn't going to get me to the next level. I had to surround myself around other passionate people, and for me, that is a weekly call Thursdays at 4 o'clock. It's the most important time of my week when I get to invest in other people and they get to speak into my life and challenge me, give me feedback, accountability, and so on and so forth. So we got some questions rolling in. If you have questions, we're going to hang out for just a few minutes, and then I'm going to give that PDF, that link, to the Mastermind Group guidelines. And so just to clarify, because I've seen some questions on this, it's the coupon code Chad Allen. It's one word, CHADALLEN. So that's one word. And again, I've set the coupon code for only the first 10 people. So once we reach that, that offer will no longer be valid. So let's take some questions. Had a couple comments. Paula said, "This is incredibly informative. Thank you so much for sharing sharing this with us this way." You're welcome, Paula. Glad that's helpful to you. I got a question here. How much time allowed for each meeting? Yeah, so this is a great question. We have established for us that it's 1 hour. Because we have a bunch of entrepreneurs. We have a bunch of people that are here, there, and everywhere. We have a couple people who, I mean, literally they're dialing into our mastermind group while they're sitting at the airport, and they're to fro everywhere in the car. It's not unusual for us to have a couple people that are in the car, on the phone, into the Hangout. And by the way, let me say this. That's why Google Hangouts is still a great tool. We use Slack app because it integrates with Hangouts, so we still do our meeting inside of Hangouts, because Hangouts allows you to call people in from a phone number. I mean, there also is the Hangout app on an iPhone, but we actually call people in if they're traveling around or here, there, and everywhere. But we keep our meeting at 1 hour, and we're pretty good for the most part at staying within that. So we try to say we keep things moving, and typically, just to give you an idea of the structure, and I go into more detail in the videos inside the members area, but typically a structure for us is first 15 minutes is highs and lows. Everybody takes an opportunity to share one good thing that's happened last week, and what's one thing that's not so good, it's something that you're kind of bummed about. And that helps us all to kind of understand where everybody's coming from. And I always enjoy hearing those. Then we move into a hot seat. Everybody takes turn in that hot seat, and for the next 30 minutes, they can say, guys, here's what I'm thinking, or here's what I'm running up against, here's my challenge, hey, I need feedback on this, and we all come to the aid. That's where a mastermind, you see, all of us together are better than any one of us apart. And that is the power of a mastermind, is you have people with different personalities and different perspectives. And Chad will know who I'm talking about, but I'm so glad, and I won't call him out, but I'm so glad we have a person in our group. He's action-oriented. I mean, he's ready to push you and say, okay, well, when are you going to do that? And it's so cut and dry. And for me, a lot of times it's like, you got to understand, okay, that's fine, but when are you going to do it? And it's so refreshing to have, somebody in the group who has the personality of taking action. And all of our personalities together help us to come to a consensus of taking right moves and right steps. So the answer for you is 60 minutes. All right, another question. Why do you use 30 days as a timeline? I just wanted to kind of help people have an actual timeline. When I look back, it wasn't that I just said, I didn't put a forum post and say, who's interested in a mastermind group? Answer below. And then have all those guys join a hangout. I think that would have probably been disaster because I would have had people who are disjointed, not on the same level, and not that every member has to be at the exact same place, but in our group, I wanted to make sure that somebody wasn't starting with, hey guys, I'm trying to think of a domain name, or can somebody tell me whether I should be on WordPress or Blogspot or we wanted to have people who had been blogging for a little while who didn't kind of hold the whole group back. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't start a mastermind group of a bunch of beginners, but you want to try to form people that are in the general area where they're at. So I use that 30-day as a time frame to help you understand that there's a little bit of a process, but you can get up and running, and here's the roadmap for doing so. I'm just going to keep rolling with some of these questions unless you have anything, Chad, from your end.
No, that sounds great.
All right. Somebody said enjoyed. I've enjoyed this. Glad I joined. So that's awesome. Kay says, you built your group by interviewing like-minded strangers/acquaintances. Do you feel that a successful mastermind group could be built from one circle of friends? I think it can. I think there is a little bit of danger there in that if you enjoy hanging out with each other, and we have a close-knit community in our group. Everybody knows our families and each other like that. But at the same time, we're all about a certain mission. So, as I would say, Kay, and maybe Chad, you can provide some insights if you can think of anything that I'm not thinking of. But I think you want to be careful where it's not just social, which can make it a little bit of a challenge. I'll give you an example. It's kind of a off example, but maybe it makes sense. My daughter, she's just went into 7th grade, and she really wanted to have a Bible study at our house with a group of friends, with a group of her girlfriends for 6 weeks. And so she initiated on her own. We were there to support her, and she didn't want my wife or I to be in the room. She wanted to be in her room, and she wanted to lead the Bible study. And after the first week, she said, Dad, this is so much harder than I thought because this is all my friends, and I'm trying to keep them on task to this Bible study, and they just want to talk about boys, or they want to talk about school, or they want to talk about this and that, and I'm trying to get them focused. Now, she was able to get there after a couple weeks because everyone began to get the feel of why they're getting together, but it can be a bit of a challenge, I would guess. But again, it's not from my experience, Kay, because again, I started with strangers. Any additional thoughts on that, Chad?
Yeah, I would just say, there certainly is a place for social groups. So if you need some more social interaction, that is, of course, perfectly valid reason to get a group of people together. But if your focus is, more about improving your own writing or to grow your platform, then I think it is really important to be in a mastermind group with others who share those same goals. The other thing I would say here is give yourself permission to invite whom really like to speak words.
Hey, Chad, I think you kind of.
I think you
Yeah,
should.
sorry. Can you repeat that? Because I think you kind of got a little slow.
I wouldn't necessarily. If there's that I think mastermind group members permission to just saying to be there based on if you go through this interview process based on that, don't necessarily bring in folks who you think you should invite just because you think they would like that. The goal is to create a group that is focused on some kind of an outcome, and you would know what that outcome is or what those outcomes are. So that's really what should guide, I think, whom to invite.
Awesome. Great advice. I'll take another question, and then I'm going to go ahead and give out the link to the PDF guidelines, or to the group guidelines PDF. And then if there's any other questions, we'll take some questions from there. Paula says, are these apps, let's see, she said, are these apps like the Voxer and app, which is recorded longer voice text? I'm not sure the question there. Are you talking about like the Slack app that we were referring to? Maybe, Paula, you can clarify your question in the chat box. In fact, while I'm waiting on that, why don't I just share my screen here a second and show you the Slack app. So here's what we're using right now. This is the Slack app, and you can see Chad's right here. This is about the feedback. Over here on the side over here, you have these different channels that you can create. We have one for accountability, remember, and by the way, in the bonus section inside the course, I go through this in detail. But like here's some that we have. We have the accountability where people can go in and post the things that they want to get done, that they want to be held accountable for. We have one for blogging, for a book list, things that we're reading that we want to share, business. This feedback one is a great one. Like here's an example. Rebecca is working on a Kindle book, and so she is asking for insight on titling for a Kindle book. We have an in-person meetup one that we're working on, launch for the different courses we're launching, list building ideas. The actual mastermind call happens right underneath, right inside of here. You can actually type in and basically put in inside of here /Hangouts, and people can join the Hangout right from inside of the Slack app. We have one on podcasting, promotions, and then down here we have places where we can direct message each other. That way we don't have to use email. So it's a really nifty, that's just a quick overview, but it's a really nifty app that we love to use. So let me see if Paula got back to us on her question real quick here. Oh, Slack. Okay. So I just showed that to you. I don't know if I went through that too quickly, but hopefully that should give you an overview. It's free. There is a paid version, but we haven't had any need to do the paid version. And again, it's a free downloadable software on the Mac or the PC. You can get to it online, or you can use it Android, iPhone, iPad. Our group uses all of the above.
Yeah, it's super easy to use, and I don't know if you control permissions, Jonathan, but I know that I created that list building channel myself. So I think anybody can create a new channel.
Yep.
And what I was curious about when we first started using it was, well, would I miss comments when they came in under a channel? What Slack does for you is it boldfaces the channel that has new comments, so that you know which ones to check, the next time you go into Slack. So you don't miss any messages that way.
Yeah, and I cover all that in the bonus tutorial, so that when you launch your group, you can use the Slack app. So awesome. So go ahead and put in any other questions. We'll have just a short after party, I guess we'll call it. But let me go ahead and give you the link to our Mastermind group guidelines as a thank you for being here tonight. And let me grab that link, and I'm going to put it over inside of the chat box so you guys can have it.
I'll just jump in and say, that I really believe that that when it comes to creative work, whether it's writing or maybe you're an artist or you're an entrepreneur that is busy developing content, this is one of those things that I think is essential. Being part of a group that is supporting you and that you're investing in as well, it really can make a huge difference to how quickly you make progress. It can save you from making mistakes, and then also you get the benefit of serving other people. So, of all the different ways to invest your time in a mastermind group, I think should be at the very top of a creative's list. You just don't want to try to do this by yourself. At least I don't think you'll do your best work if you do try to do it by yourself. So I encourage people to take advantage of this.
Great. Well, let's see. Trying to see if we have any other questions here. Looks like we have, just checking real quick, we have had people jump in and take a part of our discount tonight. So thank you guys, those of you who've done that. Looks like I can't add up that quick whether we've got, because it's kind of mixing in with some of my other mastermind sales that I've got going just on my page. I can't tell right off the top of my head if all 10 have been taken or not. But thank you for those that have joined, and I'd be happy to help you again inside the members area. And let's see, got a bunch of thank yous. Thanks, guys. This has been great. Awesome. I'm so glad this was helpful to you, and I appreciate Chad putting this on and inviting me to come and share with you guys. I've enjoyed this. So yeah, I don't know if you have any last words, Chad. I think it's just mostly people saying thanks. I don't see any other questions on my end. So
well, I'll say thanks as well, Jonathan. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. I think this is really helpful, and just appreciate what you do and for leading the mastermind group that I'm in. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, listen, guys, thanks so much for being here and joining us tonight. I hope you walked away with some helpful tips. Hopefully by now you've been able to get that mastermind group guidelines. And for those of you who are going to be in the members area, welcome, and we look forward to helping you launch your mastermind group. So thanks for being here, guys.